Hey gang, today we'll show you how to smoke a Texas-style beef brisket using Young Living's Vitality essential oils in the rub. Let's go get smoking. So for a Texas-style beef brisket, we generally use what's called a Dalmatian rub, which is a 50-50 mix of sea salt and fresh ground or fresh coarse ground black pepper. Generally use about half a tablespoon of each of the salt and pepper per pound of uncooked brisket. Now, we're going to have a little twist on that today by adding in our Young Living Vitality oils. We're going to use clove, cinnamon bark, and lemon. If you don't have those three, you can actually use Thieves Vitality. We'll also throw in a little bit of basil, and our secret ingredient will be the black pepper Vitality. We use 2 drops of each oil. I'll show you how to mix them up here. So I add 2 drops each of our Vitality essential oils. Put the lid on, and shake it up really well. It's time to get our smoker up and running. I'm using a pellet smoker. If you're not familiar with what that is, pellet smoker has a hopper that you fill with these wood pellets. It's a mix of mesquite, hickory, and oak. It produces a real nice smoke that's great for cooking beef, especially briskets. And it's got a little burner can at the bottom of the smoker and generates our heat and our smoke. Now, if you don't have a smoker, like a pellet smoker or an offset smoker, but you've got a charcoal grill or a gas grill, you can use that. I look into getting something like this. It's called a smoke tube. They've got a smoke maze. Other little device like this, basically you put your wood pellets in there, light it with a butane or propane torch, let it burn for about 5 or 10 minutes, then blow the flame out and it'll start smoking. Just lay it in your grill like so and it'll produce a lot of really good smoke for you. Alright, so let's get this thing up and running. Got our hopper filled, close the lid, I'll show you how easy pellet smokers are. Turn it on, and we're up and running. It'll prime itself, start smoking, and once it's up to its initial temperature, we'll bring it up to our cooking temperature of 250 degrees Fahrenheit. While we wait for our smoker to come up to temp, let's chat a minute about temperature. You want to get yourself a good quality meat thermometer. $10 to $20 will get you a good one. And as you're smoking meats or even cooking inside, you want to look at cooking to temperature instead of time. That ensures that the meat is cooked correctly, it's the right temperature, it's safe, and really prevents overcooking and undercooking your meats. Now for today, for our Texas brisket, we'll use a cooking temperature of 250 degrees in the smoke chamber, and we'll look for an internal temperature of the brisket of 200 degrees Fahrenheit. All right, we just put our brisket on. We've got 2 temp probes in. I know the right side of the smoker cooks a little bit hotter than the left, so I've got the thicker side of the brisket on the right, and we're at 250 degrees, and we'll let it cook. So the brisket's finally in the smoker cooking away. So let's try to answer the question of how long is it going to take? Well, we really don't know, but a good rule of thumb is about an hour to an hour and 15 minutes per pound. So for this one, let's ballpark it at about 5 hours on the cook. Now, one thing to watch out for is what's called the stall. So what's going on is, just put the brisket on, or a large chunk of meat like a brisket or a pork butt, it's cooking away, temperatures are coming up nicely, and you may even think, wow, this is going to be done soon. But right around 165 degrees or so, the temperatures just flatline, and they may stay there for an hour, maybe 8 hours. Really don't know. So you think, what in the world's going on? Well, when you're cooking at low temps, you're not pouring enough heat into the meat to offset what's called evaporative cooling. Basically, at around 165 degrees or so, the meat starts to shrink, the moisture starts to go to the surface and evaporate off, and it cools the meat. So the stall will happen. It may stay there for a little while, but after the stall, the temps will start to rise again, and you'll hit your 200 degree mark, be on your way. Now let's say you've got guests coming and you need to speed things up. All you can do is what's called a crutch. Take the brisket off, wrap it tightly with some butcher paper, or do what's called a Texas crutch, which is aluminum foil. Wrap it up tight, throw it back on the smoker, and that'll speed things up a little bit. Now the stall's not a bad thing, especially if you know it's going to happen. It's actually a really good thing because it gives the brisket and pulled pork and other things time to really soak up that smoke flavor. So here we are about halfway through the cook, and we're going to spritz it, keep it moist. I'm using just a little bit of water. Some folks like to use some apple juice or apple cider vinegar. The point is you just want to keep it moist to keep it from drying out. All right, we're a little over 5 hours into our cook. The sun is set and the temp probe shows we're at 200 degrees, so our brisket should be ready. Let's go take a look. Hey, there we go. It looks really good. Got some decent bark on it. Little 4.5 pound brisket flat. Looks pretty good. Didn't take too long to cook, so it's got a good bark, but a larger whole brisket, 12, 13, 14 pound brisket would be out here the entire day and have a much more robust and solid bark on it. This one looks great. We're going to pull it off the smoker, wrap it tight in some butcher paper, and let it rest for about an hour. So here's our fresh smoked brisket. We pulled it at 200 degrees, wrapped it up tight in some butcher paper, and now we're going to let it rest for about an hour. You can let them sit out like this, or I like to put them in the oven at 170 degrees for an hour. And letting them rest allows the meat to kind of relax a little bit, let the juices redistribute throughout the meat. And after about an hour, it's ready to slice and serve. All right, we've cut into it. Here's the inside. Got a nice defined smoke ring. Meat's nice and moist. Pulls just fine. When you make your slices, you want to cut them to about a pencil width.